Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I just found a concrete slab right here. I don't remember this building being that long, but there's a pipe, and there's pipes, and there used to be like a 50,000 gallon tank stood over there on that wall and up here, and this would pump oil out. They say for the heaters for the cabooses and stuff, but I've never seen them use it in my days, and they kind of quit using it early on when they got rid of the cook stove and went to electric to heat up the cabooses and stuff. Alright, so some more history that I discovered. Alright, thank you. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm down here at the depot. It's 8:30 at night. We got clear signal on the main line. A friend of mine from Watts called me up, told me he had a train. We had a train coming this way. He could hear it. He's not here yet. I'll get him when he gets here. Alright, thank you. I would see it, but that's a green over red on the main line, a red over red on the side and northbound in Abbeville. Alright, thank you. Alright, I see headlights down there in the corner. I don't see it showing up on camera, but he's heading down here around the corner. His dynamics are roaring. You can hear the fan on top cooling the grills off that they cooked the electricity off on when it's in dynamic brakes. Alright, I'm gonna step back away from the tracks. There you go, they're blowing at us, y'all. They done knocked the lights out. Alright, we got some manifest train. Now thanks for light for coming back on. We got shiny rims on this train. It came out of Tennessee, out of the hump yard up in Tennessee. Coming, that must be the GPU. 9081. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, a little bit more history. That flag there to a switch stand is not attached to any closure rails. The track that would have gone to is where I'm standing in the middle of these railroad ties. This is called the Diamond Spur. And on the Diamond Spur, they would just park locomotives over here. You come down here, might be 5, 6, or 7 locomotives, might be one just sitting there. Later on, the abbeville switcher would use this to park railroad cars in. But now what they do is that track across the bridge there going off. It's a single track. It just comes off the side and goes up about a little less than 2 miles and goes back into the side. And that's an old yard lead right there, because there used to be Abbeville Railroad Yard over here in the roundhouse. Well, they use that now, the abbeville switcher does. Alright, let me pause it for a second to get my thoughts. Alright, coming off of here, off the Diamond Spur, we had this building over here to the left. It was a tin building. I thought it was square, but it's got a rectangular foundation. It might have been that the building was here and the tank was sitting over there or something, but we got a concrete slab out here, it's rectangular, and it's got those pipes. I showed those yesterday. So anyway, that building would have been a tin building, had windows all the way around it. You could see through it, and had a tin roof on it, and they had a big tank over there. And I assumed this was for fuel for the caboose stove. You know, they didn't burn coal in it, they were burning oil, I guess. Alright. Now, the Diamond Spur, like I said, in the old days, they would just park locomotives here. In the old days is when I was a kid. Now, I don't know what they did before then. I don't know how I got the name Diamond. I've been working out building arrangements and stuff like that. And I think I kind of got figured out. I'm guessing some places where they went, and some places I know where they went. You know, I got proof of that. And I'll go down there and I'll talk about that in a little bit. The red hose, the red reel with the garden hose on it is for rewatering locomotives. They'll pull them up here and pull them up on the side or whatever on the main line. Stretch that hose over and rewater the coolant system on locomotives. Alright. Over there, between this telephone pole and that telephone pole, was a big long building that was a freight shed. Alright, and the freight shed would come up. That pole right there sat exactly on the inside corner. I'm talking about the corner as it came from this direction and this direction up here. This corner right here would have been right at that pole just on the other side of it. Been exactly parallel and everything. Alright, from that pole out here would have been the deck that would have went to the railroad tracks, would have been just on the other side of that gravel. So down there, just this side of that switch, of the signal mast down there, was a switch that switched off and put tracks all the way up into here. And it also had that track that come down through there. That was your yard lead. Then you had the house track, which would branched off a bit, run over there by those trees. And they would come up to the telephone poles over there, the light poles. And there would have been a track on this side. I discovered it months ago. And the track on the other side, which I knew because I was there when I was a kid. And they would have had pits in the ground and conveyor belts. They said there was 5 of them over there. There was only 3 when I was a kid. You had 3 on the other side and 2 on this side. And I could see the evidence of that in the asphalt, which was laid down over it. And it's done sunk around the ties, and you can see where there's no ties, so you know where the conveyor belt was on this side and stuff. Alright, the house track would have gone up by the tree line, and they would have parked passenger cars up there and had schools. They would have taught farmers how to farm, and would have taught women how to be bitches and keep the house clean, and how to yell at their husband and stuff. So, some of it I could see was good and some of it wasn't. But what they call education, we're going to educate you how to plant trees now, and you're going to quit growing cotton. So, everybody quit growing cotton and started planting trees. Some people kept the cattle and kept kept pasture lands, and they were successful. You could get enough hay off this land. The land got to be so poor. Look, I got friends of mine that were working for NASA in the early days, and they would come to Abbeville, they would leave North Carolina, and that's where the cotton field started, come down to South Carolina, and they come to Abbeville, and they go on down to halfway through Georgia, and he was going to Florida, like I said, he worked for NASA. As a young kid, probably back in the 40s or something like that, but, he's working for our government agencies and stuff. So I don't know, he claims it was NASA back then, but talks about they were using blacksmiths making anchors to hold the conduit to the wall and stuff like that. You had a blacksmith shop back then. But anyway, he said, far as the eye can see, wouldn't been no trees. You see the hilltops and you see houses out there. Said there'd be a tree or something in somebody's yard, but there wasn't no trees anywhere else. It was all cotton fields. Even here, my grandma, who lives in the trees, lives on the hill over there were no trees back then, they say, because they could sit on their front porch and watch the trains come to Abbeville. All right. So let me get my thoughts together again. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is where the old depot was. You can see the brick wall foundation and where it goes across at the back there. And down here at the front, it's all covered up, but you can see the brick. It's a complete brick depot. Had 2 steps on this side, one about there and one about there. It allowed you to go in. That far one went into the office door, and that, in my days, would have been a room that was kept locked up, and that would have been, when the bosses came over here and would have meetings, they would use that room there. Well, it wasn't really locked up, but nobody used it. The rest of this, the waiting room out here, the white waiting room, this one that was built was a colored, or it didn't allow colored people and white people to mix. Now the trains had to. I don't know whether they did that, kept segregation in Abbeville during those days or not. I came up here in the 60s, so this is what I observed and heard and learned and stuff. Alright, so over here was a waiting room. And I think it would go all the way to that side over there too. You had a bathroom back there in the corner. And I think that was a women's bathroom because it had a window to the outside for ventilation. And then let me see, this whole area in here would have been the weight room. Later on, there was a wall built over there about 5 foot, 8 foot inside this. When you step in this door, right here, you would look and there'd be a big panel there with shelves, little small shelves, probably about that wide and that tall. No, that wide, and it would have, well, you would put these blocks of wood in them, and the blocks of wood were like square, and on the front of it, you would write a name and put it in there. And you had a column here for off-duty engineers, off-duty conductors, and firemen, and stuff like that. So then you would come over here, and they would say, all the trains going to Atlanta, all the trains going to Hamlet, switch a job, Well, just whatever they had, and they had passenger trains and stuff back then, so I assume you would have been signing these engineers to passenger trains. But later on, it was just all freight, so I didn't see that, the passenger trains much. But anyway, well, another thing too, I'll discuss it. Alright, this part sticking out here would have been where your operator was sitting. The telegraph operator or the dispatcher for the train in this area. Right here would have been the base for a for a single pole double head semaphore. I'm not gonna go look up at the sky so I can look up and show it to you. Boy, I'm in my imaginary world, ain't I? Alright. Right here, like I said, this would have been where you operate here. We have window here, windows on this wall. I mean up here, head height, right up here. But so they could look out the window and stuff. And I tell you what, it's kind of scary when you walk in the door over here to come into this room, and you got a big locomotive sitting there filling up that window. It kind of is scary looking, when you first see it. It's like, darn, man, whoa, that's big. Alright, but you come over here, okay, there's been a wall right here that would have gone to the back wall. That would have been a wall went all the way back. So from that room, you would have had a door back there to go into the men's room. You come up, you had a door to go into this office. They had a door there. No, I don't think there was a door on this wall until you get over on this side. And they would have had one at the back, and the bathroom would have been on the back wall and had the vents. But this would have been the colored waiting room. I know nowadays they say black people, but back then it was colored, so I'm not going to say black people waiting room. It's a colored waiting room. Alright, and you had a step here. Looked just as nice on the outside. The whole building looked nice. And but I also noticed on the other side of that bridge over there that goes over Vienna Street, there was a staircase that come down that hill. Staircase and handrails and stuff, a nice one. It was made out of wood, but they kept it in good shape until they took it out. And I don't remember what year that was. But anyway, a lot of black people, when they come in from Atlanta, would get off the train. They didn't have to come to the depot. They just walked down that hill. And maybe they had some sort of perfect ticket system. They just walk up that hill and knew when the train was going to be here and get on it. They had a single car passenger train to run through here. That's what it's described to me. And they called it the Hoolum. And it would run down to Atlanta. And these people would be heading down to Atlanta, either work or go down to the party or whatever. But you think they're mean because they put a staircase in there. Well, they didn't have the staircase. They'd either have to walk up Vienna Street all the way up top of that hill, which keeps getting higher the further they walk up it. And then it comes down this driveway here to come in to get on the train. So the railroad did them a favor building a staircase over there. Alright. I don't think they're being mean to them. To anybody. Alright, well, there's not much I can show over there, but I was going to talk about the telephone poles and the conveyor belts and stuff. In my day, I would see limestone. I would see coal. So I don't know what all they were bringing in here. Maybe they had different types of different sizes of coal, and they do each one at their own little ramp so they didn't get mixed up. But how I noticed that track, I knew they always tell me there was 5 conveyors over there. And I've been down here since I was 6 years old, so sometime between 6 and 66, I learned that from the old timers. It used to be and I only knew about 3 of them. Alright, now this road is asphalted, and it covers up where the tracks were back in the old days. But if you see here and look at this grass how it's growing along, and you can see a little hump there, a little depression there, a little hump, another hump, another depression there, and over here you got a big old depression area. So I assume this is where the conveyor belt would have been in. This would have been the hole in the ground over here underneath this track. And that the conveyor belt, the car would have been parked here, the door would have been parked there. They'd open it up, dump it on the conveyor belt, and then it would come out here and go into your wagon or your truck at that time. So I'm not sure when it is, but the electricity came from these poles. That's what those wires are for. That's the original poles and original wire. And those would have come down here to the disconnects or whatever that ran the conveyor belt. Alright, so I figured that out. Now, talking about finding things over here, I found this mirror. I've been walking around here and I found it laying on the ground beside the railroad track. I assume that's one of the mirrors that goes up by the window on the locomotive. I don't know. It says DPG on it. I don't know who makes that or what that is, but alright, so that's pretty cool. I thought that was interesting. Alright, so that track would have gone down. Like there would have been that track that went over to the freight depot, and then off of it you would have had the track that ran over next to the woods and all the way back up in here, and they would put passenger cars up here for education purposes. They would teach the men about farming, and I say teach them about farming. The cotton around here, you had to get on your hands and knees to pick the cotton around here. I mean, my buddy Jim Carpenter is talking about no trees down here and stuff, or you could see for miles and no trees except for around the houses and stuff. It was all cotton fields. Well, he had cotton fields back home, but it was fresh land, and they could stand up and pick cotton. Where down here, you know, it was on the ground, and you're having to crawl on your hands and knees. So when they come up with wanting these pine trees to make paper with, that's when they changed the South. You know, now this is a city, so we don't have the pine trees around us here. They just let this old stuff grow, you know. And I don't know, see people bringing in seeds or something, maybe throwing them out, or they bring them in here for feed purposes, but I don't know. All these trees and stuff started growing, and nobody's cutting them down, they're just letting them live. But when the pine tree people come in here and they want to do the pulpwood, they were buying up acres and acres of land and getting rid of the farmers, or some of the farmers, instead of growing cotton, would plant pine trees. And you know, 40 or 50 years from now, they would have them a tree that they could sell, make a bunch of money when they're old people. So that's what happened. The cotton fields disappeared, and everybody went into pulpwood business as far as the railroad's concerned. So that's what they're teaching you. They claim it's farmers' education, but what they're trying to do is get you to grow what they want you to grow so they can make money off of it, and you can too. Which is kind of a good idea, but it just shows you the power the railroad had, or the government. Alright, thank you. There it is in there hiding in the pole, but that's old disconnect for one of the conveyor belts they had out here. They would have had 3 on this side of the pole, which is the furthest away from the track. You know, that was the track over there that had 2 conveyor belts on it. This track over here had 3. Had one up there at the far end, one right here, and one down there at that one. I remember watching him use this one. The guy would come down here and get his limestone, or power ground up car full of limestone or whatever, and he'd go around spread it on the pastures and stuff for the farmers. Another one was coal, and that was going over the hill to the coal man that sold coal over there. Other things I know about they were bringing here at the freight station, I had an old black man. He used to work on the railroad. He worked at the roundhouse, and in the 40s or so, they moved him off from Abbeville up to Hamlet when they started that roundhouse. So these guys would have been big shots up in Hamlet by then. Yeah, but he was telling me he would sit down here and watch them unload Model T cars off of. They would roll the chassis out, and then a couple of men would go in there and pick up a body and bring it out and set it on the chassis, and they'd roll it down the dock down there. And I assume the Ford dealership would then bolt it together and drive it up to, Prince Motor Company or whoever it was back then, but it was a Ford dealership. When I was a kid, it was called Prince Motor, but I don't know who it was back then, but. Alright, what else can I talk about? Let me pause it and I will talk some more. Alright, over there on the ground, that concrete going across there would have been the baggage room. And this right here is what's left of the old sidewalk. It used to be a brick sidewalk from the building out to the asphalt out here. So your sidewalk, you would have gone down, and that's the door that you would bring your stuff in. But that door over there is bigger because they were loading it on a cart to take it out, the baggage cart to take it out to the baggage car. Alright, so it's hard to see it now, but there would have been a set of stairs here, because this part was elevated. It was probably about 2 or 3 feet above the ground the floor was, so you had to walk up 2 or 3 steps to get into the depot. Whereas this down at floor level, so you walk in, you carry heavy baggage and stuff. I'm not going to walk down the sidewalk, obviously, because it's overgrown and destroyed. But that was a brick sidewalk back then. I mean, this concrete's all new up here that they got on it now. And I'm not exactly sure where the steps would have been, because and the steps, and they didn't have handrails on them. They put them on later on, but you would have had a door right here that would have gone into this passenger waiting room. And the bathroom would have been sitting right there in the corner. And I assume that was the ladies' bathroom. Because the men's bathroom, over here would have been the window for the colored bathroom, or the black people's bathroom. And the inside bathroom that had the door from this room to go in that bathroom, it didn't have any windows. So the white men had to go in the room that didn't have any ventilation at all. Alright, so practicing segregation wasn't good. So the worst bathroom in the whole building went to the white men. Alright, and I think they had another one bathroom is attached to that office, to the operator office and train dispatcher and stuff office for them. So you had one for the railroad, it didn't have ventilation. And you had one for the men's room, it didn't have ventilation. You had a colored bathroom. They didn't have men and women, both of them used the same bathroom, but it had big windows on it for ventilation. I don't know if that did you any good in the wintertime. And the women's bathroom over here had ventilation too. It had a window you can open up. Alright, let me see, what else can I talk about? Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm over here by the telephone poles to show you the details and stuff. I know I did a video on this years ago, or a year ago or so. You can look at the ground right here, and you can see where the railroad ties used to be. You can see the wrinkles in the asphalt. Alright, so this track right here would have had 2 conveyor belts, and I don't know what they would have carried. I mean, you can see the damage in the road all the way up over there. Alright. And you might have had a car sitting here, because that looks like a depression in the ground where they would have shut the conveyor belt down in there. It's electrically powered, the conveyor belt. That's what these poles are for, is to bring the electricity in. And you can see a disconnect over here to turn it on and turn it off and stuff. This is one of the old original disconnects. And it's still mounted to the pole, and they would have had the wire come out from it, and it would have gone over to the hole in the ground, which is probably down this way, to the motor on the conveyor belt underneath the track over here. So you had 2 tracks, y'all. And they would have gone down and gone into that track, the house track, and then they would have gone into the, switched up, picked up the yard, the freight depot lead or track, and then it would have carried it out onto the main line back in the old days. Alright, thank you. I found this mirror a while ago. It's got DPG written on it. I don't know what it came off of, some sort of piece of equipment or something. Might be a railroad locomotive. I have no idea. Alright, thank you. Alright, that large tank over there carries the waste products that were spilt on the diamond spur. They had metal sheeting on it. I'll show that to you in a little bit. But that was in case any locomotive fuel or oils leaked down on the track, it didn't get in the ground. But it went all the way down there, and then it would have gone down in the drain underground over that way, and down by the street there's a pump down there that would pump that oil or sludge or whatever it is. Whenever it rained, it got the float picked up, and it would dump all that trash in there. You got some more tanks up there in the woods. That's hard to see, but they were setting up a place up here to fuel these locomotives up. And I'll get over there and get close to that and film that again. Alright, thank you. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is a fuel stand. I assume they would have had a hose on the end of that pipe, and they would have swung out, and they could run the pipe up to line up exactly like with the locomotive. I don't think he'd be using a straight metal pipe like that and hooking that up to the locomotive. You could do that with water, but you can't do that with fuel. Alright, thank you. Alright, you can see that big metal going across right. It would have covered up to where the spikes were and stuff. These are still some existing metal pan. They pulled the rail out, but they left the metal pan. Alright, there's one that's pretty much fully intact. Let me walk up there. Alright, you had that one, just that one that would have gone that way. We don't have one of those exposed that's all covered up with rock that way. Your rails would have been down, and then they would have come up between that one and that one. Your rail would have gone down through there. This is an overlap in the middle from this sheet to this sheet, which is the same shape, it's just opposite direction. Alright, then you would have had your track down through there, and then you would have had metal over there, and then it looks like they had another section of metal over there. to make it even wider. And there might be one of those, looks like over there. So if anything leaked off the locomotive, it's caught in these metal sections. And that section was sat on top of this section. And this section was sat on top of the next section all the way down. So any liquids on here would have flowed down to that drain up there. Alright, there's the tank for the fuel. Over here in the woods and stuff. And all that's left is metal and concrete. There's no wood decks are all gone. They never use this thing. The big gray panel in front of us is electrical connection, probably for lights and pumps and stuff. And it's all fenced in. But I never knew them to use this. They built this when I was living in Florida for 9 years. And I come back to Abbeville and this was new and the picnic shelter was new. Alright y'all, welcome to Abbeville. I hope you're having fun. Alright, I'm going to walk up this way and talk about some stuff. Alright, thank you. Yellow paint tells them where to stop the last car at so they don't run off the track. They didn't have a end of track bumper down here. And look, they got a drain here too. And a manhole cover. That would have been in case any oil up this direction leaked down in there. And they got a thing for water right here. The city water supply. Alright, these old tires, I might need to check them out and see if I find any date spikes in them. That looks like a broken tie plate down there. Nope, that's just the left side, the right side's buried. Alright. Alright, right up here, I'm not exactly sure where, but what we're looking at is the back side of a concrete mixing plant. Alright, so you would have had that track would have come straight down through here. But that building sitting over there needed another track, so I'm assuming what's happening is where they cut that track off presently, they would have had a switch that would have ran over to this building. So now you got two tracks down here. Alright. And that track for that building would have run down through those straight ahead to another building over there that's set up for 20-foot boxcars. This building right here was set up for 20-foot boxcars. The doors were around 20 foot apart or whatever, so you could put two boxcars coupled up and both of them were lined up at the doors. But when they started getting 40 and 50-foot boxcars in here, or bigger, it wouldn't fit. But anyway, down there, same thing, 20-foot boxcars or 30 or 40-foot boxcars, I forget the measurement. But it wasn't 50 or 60 foot, I know that. So it wasn't modern boxcars. So anyway, you got that track to run straight down over there to that building from this building, same distance away from the track. And you got this one up here that I think would have cut down and went down through there because there's some buildings over on the back side, lumber sheds and stuff. Then that track could have gone on down the hill to Abbeville Mill that way. On what nowadays is streets and stuff, and I'll get over there and I'll show you that. So when it crossed over, you would have had two diamonds down here. So this would have been, you would have had a diamond crossing both of these tracks. Alright, I'll go take some more clue shots. Alright, thank you. Alright, the signals were put up in the 60s. Until then, they were using semaphores, but I never saw any semaphores down here. They're all signals. But I know they had a semaphore on the depot to stop the trains. I guess the rest of it was written orders and stuff like that. Alright. Man told me I had 2 kinfolk killed on the railroad. One was an engineer, and he was hanging out the cab window and looking back or something, and he went by a mail post that had a mailbag hanging on it, supposedly ripped his head off. The other one, and not having signals at the switch, tells me something about what happened to the other one. The other one was a fireman on a steam engine, and they were headed northbound, and they say this dispatcher got the order to stop the southbound train. And, you know, they called him up and they were typing it out on the telegraph. Well, he's receiving the message to stop the southbound train. It fly past his depot. So he said he just got up and closed the door, locked the door, because he knew the railroad was going to be shut down. It was going to be a major derailment. And that's what happened. They say that the fireman, which is my kinfolk, he was told to jump off the locomotive, and he did. And when the train derailed, it fell on top of him and killed him. So I'm assuming they probably didn't have signals at the signs. You just knew where you're supposed to go and where you're supposed to stop, and you're supposed to wait on a certain train. But they dispatched this train out and didn't realize there was another train that already occupied the track heading southward. So, you know, when they left the last depot, they knew they didn't have to stop for anything, and the southbounder didn't have to stop for anything. Alright, this is the other building I was talking about, and you see how far away from me it is. I think this was set up to get goods from a boxcar. I don't have any proof there's any tracks or anything down there, I don't know. But they added that onto it. But a friend of mine owns this building. He owns a construction company or something now. We got a mailman sitting down there parked, or delivering his mail. Alright, so this used to be, the previous fellow owned this place, would sell monuments for graveyards and stuff. Old building here, has been here all my life. And I'm 66. So I suppose I'm not going to see any trains today. I didn't see any yesterday. I think one came by 10 minutes after I left. I got hungry, went home, got something to eat. There used to be a building over here. So I assumed that second track crossed over and had a spur into this building as a woodworking shop. And then it would have gone on down that way. And I'll walk down that way and show you. But I figured this might have been part of the railroad track too, so I don't know. It might have swung around behind that building and come up through here and left a little spur down to that little shack. Come down and rode down this road, cut off to the right, and go down there to the flatlands to unload this loads for the mill. You know, I might have been bringing in the brick to build the place, the brick and the lumber. I might have been bringing in the mill equipment, the looms and different machinery they got for making thread and stuff like that. Alright, hope you enjoy this. Thank you, I am. I'm having a fun time today. It's a Sabbath, so I'm not supposed to be working. I just walk around having fun, talking to God and stuff, and talking to y'all. All right, thank you. All right, you see that little ridge along through there? Used to be a little road that went down between the houses over on that side and the houses on this side. These old mill houses. That's my friend Kurt's house. He's a Lumbee Indian. And you got a house over there, and the man tells me when his mom and daddy built that house, or moved into it, I guess the mill built it, that there was nothing but coal in the yard. So I assumed they'd bring cars down here, and they would dump coal out here, and use the wagons to carry it to the mill, or bring the supplies down here to help build the mill. Alright, let me walk over there and I'll show you the mill. This street right here is called Mill Street. Now Mill Street used to run straight ahead, but you look, we got mill in the way. Well, this street will run straight ahead, and coming down on the other side of the water tower up there is another road that would have come down into where the mill is. And it would have been a little convenience store down there at the intersection of those two streets. So that little convenience store is gone now. But anyway, they added on to the mill back in the 80s, I believe it was. I was down in Florida, so I didn't get to watch them do it. There's a big smokestack over there. It doesn't look too tall from here, but it's a tall smokestack. They still bring in 2 truckloads of coal just to run it, just to keep it in shape and stuff. The big tall structure there is an elevator shaft. The elevators would be carrying cloth up and down. The front part would have been a cloth inspection plan or whatever. They'd inspect the cloth before they send it out to the dye house. Alright. You got a big warehouse, but you also got a big storage tank over there, you know, for cleaning the cloth, or I don't know what all they do, mixing it in with the dyes and stuff that they add in. Alright, and the big pipe coming across pulls all the air out, or the steam out, and it cleans it up, and then puts it up that chimney. But you don't see that running today. They're pretty much shut down on Saturdays around here. They're not running too much. Saturday is the Sabbath. I don't know if that company is doing it for that reason or what. But there are 2 or 3 cars out here that I can see. 5 cars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if they're running today, they're not running that hard. There used to be a Milliken mill. He built it back in the early 1900s. But it's a sage latex and sage plant now. You still see Milliken trucks running up through here though. This is one of Mr. Milliken's favorite mills. Out of all the mills he owned around South Carolina, Georgia, and North Carolina, this was his favorite one. Alright, thank y'all. Alright, this is looking down. That telephone pole's in the middle of the road, but you can see the ditch to the left and the ditch to the right. It was just wide enough for a railroad track, and it looked like it headed straight to me now, which means it was coming on past this place and heading that way and bringing in supplies and stuff to build this place. They got another track that they bring the coal and stuff in now. It comes down through the backside, and I got videos on that already. Alright, thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's about 12 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. I've been up the street scraping some old paint off some banisters on the porch. So I'm walking down here. I hear a train coming in from the right. I don't know what he is. I'll say that's the Abbeville switcher. He's got covered hoppers for the grain silo coming out of Georgia. He's got granite coming out of the grain silos out of Georgia. And he's got gondolas. I don't know who that is. Full of granite out of Elberton, Georgia. He also has the covered hoppers that carry stuff from prison in. Alright, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a train rolling down the hill. I never heard them blow the whistle or nothing. He's pulling in and stopping, y'all. Looks like he's loaded down with railroad track maintenance equipment. '34, '33, '34, '16, these are sister locomotives. That's ET44AH. Ballast regulator there, I've never seen one like that. There. Hiring our veterans. It's got a fancy paint job on it, like some sort of digital camouflage. CSX, Pride in Service, got a bunch of military stickers up there. National Guard, Navy, Army, Air Force. So that explains the color on that one. So that's pretty cool. We got a car here with a generator, a compressor, or something on it. I don't know what he does. He tows a trailer, it looks like. We got interesting one up here. He doesn't have wheels on him. Yeah, he does. Got little wheels down there. I just didn't see them. So that's some sort of crane I got for picking up tires. I'm not sure what those are down there. I have to look at them when they roll by here a little bit. Alright, we got red signals ahead of us, so we must be having a meet. I'll get more if I talk to somebody or something or other. Alright, thank y'all. I just filmed the locomotives. ET44AH. I ain't gonna cut it off. Thank y'all. Alright, we just got a clear signal down there. He's rolling. Alright, that's a little card. I don't know what it does. I don't know if that's air compressor or hydraulics or what. Here's that crane on rail equipment. Here's another piece of equipment. I'm not sure what it is. Got another motor. It was looked like some sort of tamper. I don't know what that is. Tamper. Here's a big tamper, mainline tamper. There's two more cranes. I'm assuming this is a tie game. All these cranes on here for picking up ties and stuff. Picking them up, loading them. Another tamper. Another tamper. Got a cleaner there to clean the tires off. Looks like got a bunch of tie plates up there. Those might be spike pullers. They might not be tampers. They might be spike pullers pulling spikes out. Double ballast regulator. Another tamper. Another tamper. I don't know what that is. Looks like he just hauls stuff. Another ballast regulator. Another ballast regulator. Tractors, backhoes. Got some gauntlets there to put the extra tires in, I guess. The maintenance way gauntlets. See the MW on there? The anchor plate and something else on there. Wingtips. The Greenwood crew getting home, picked this train up in Atlanta. They got some freight cars on here too. So this is a mixed freight. These are grain cars here, y'all. Corn or wheat or whatever, I don't know what it is. Arthur Daniel Millen, CEFX, Arthur Daniel Millen, ADMX, SOXX, WFRX. HOKS cars with corrosives in it. And junk in those gondolas, couldn't tell what it was. Looked like leaves or sticks sticking out of it. The top of it. 3 more assists on. That's our DPU, got a seaboard system locomotive. That's what used to roll through Abbeville. That was one of the, after Seaboard Airline became Seaboard Coastline, then it merged to Abbeville Railroad, it became Seaboard System. Then Salmon Line System, then it became Seaboard System. That was all when I was a young man. Alright, I thought it was a mountain man coming by. The cars were dark, so I didn't see him. Pretty good sized little train here. Mountain man going by, blue EOT. I had some friends of mine call me and they say they're in Abbeville, so I'm gonna go visit them. This is a crew coming back home to Greenwood. This is a Greenwood crew. They coming out of Atlanta. They went down to Atlanta yesterday or the day before. Alright, so the Fred's home, they're glad, they're happy. Alright, thank y'all.